So we're going to talk about clearinghouse reporting. We may have heard it as drought order reporting in 2022. You may have heard it as drought and conservation reporting in 2023. But now starting 2024, we're really departing from the drought-specific focus that we've had in previous years and really going towards all-encompassing clearinghouse reporting for many uses across the water boards across the state and even in local agencies as well. So this is clearinghouse reporting for 2024 that we're going to be talking about today. So one of the big drivers for creating the clearinghouse reporting portion of the clearinghouse, because clearinghouse does a lot of things for SAFER, for the needs assessment, for at-risk systems, for tracking consolidation and administrator and the things that SAFER does. But in addition to that, we have a reporting portion of the clearinghouse that we have expanded because of some new requirements. Now, this is important to note. This is a new requirement. You might say, well, I'm having to do something new I hadn't done before. Yes, it's new for small water systems and schools to enhance their drought planning by providing new data that they had not previously given, such as an inventory and assessment of sources. Some of you may remember submitting data sheets on your surveys to your local water system regulator, and that inventory assessment was typically a printout, or maybe it was an Excel sheet, and it showed up maybe in a permit somewhere, but we had no access to that data. So an inventory and assessment of sources submitted electronically. Source delivery data, such as flow rate and total volume available. So that flow rate of each source plus the total volume that each source has delivered is now required on a source level basis for these systems to submit. And then the monthly total demand. So like how much demand is being used on a monthly basis, which folks have been reporting in the ear for years, decades, I want to say, and the average and peak flow rate demands and things that we are now requesting from water systems. This is new from a Senate bill, so the legislature put that in there, and we are responsible for now building those reporting requirements. And instead of building it into the EAR, which was going to be a little cumbersome and a little difficult to do, we decided to open up a new, more robust, more customized portal that was going to allow us not just to do this, but to satisfy other reporting and do a lot of other things that I'll talk about later in the presentation. So the other thing that the SB 552 requires is subject to funding availability, whatever that means, the implementation of monitoring systems sufficient to detect production well groundwater levels. What's sufficient? There's no definitions for this stuff, but I would say if you're able to measure your water level without needing to pull your pump or bring a well driller out to pull something, or without having to do something really constructive, construction-wise, that would be very onerous, very time-consuming to do, that you're able to measure your groundwater level. So whatever that looks like, that was required by the beginning of the year 2023. And we now have data from about 1/5 of the sources statewide of well groundwater levels that we had not previously collected on a statewide level before. This is something that's really going to help for many other efforts, but this is required SB 552. So these are the new things that were required. There's a lot of other stuff that was already required, but this is the new stuff. Okay. So, but that's not it, right? SB 552 is just one portion of the water systems that we regulate, although it's the largest portion. The goal of the reporting is to know how much water is being extracted and delivered more frequently. If someone has water extracted, water delivered in January, we don't see that in the EAR until maybe February at the earliest, at the latest, maybe April. And we don't actually release that data or vet that data until May, June, and we don't release the data until August. So that's a long time frame between January and August. And we were seeing that we weren't able to meaningfully use that data to be able to make meaningful decisions, be able to report to other folks that need that data. So we need it more frequently. We need to identify communities that experience drought emergencies before they occur. So understanding source capacity, water outages, right? Understanding what causes the water outage, what could cause a water outage. We need to see that before it occurs so we can help folks with that before that fails. There's compliance that is not just water system related, but it's also for water rights. There's conservation orders and there's other regulations such as conservation reporting, other regulations, conservation of the California way of life, other regulations that we're going to need to ensure compliance for. That's the reason why we have expanded beyond just the scope for SB 552 into trying to address a lot of other concerns for duplicative reporting. There's a lot of duplicative reporting of data at different scales and time intervals. And I think I want to say a note about this. Sometimes to eliminate duplicative reporting, you have to ask for more data in a more frequent time scale so you could satisfy more duplicative reporting. So, if you just ask, very few questions and then you try to eliminate duplicative reporting, you have to then add questions to it. Well, that's what happened is you have to add more questions so you can satisfy more reporting. But we're happy to report we've already eliminated some duplicative reporting and are talking about some more that are coming soon. The next slide is talking about some reporting authorities. I'm going to skip over most of these. They'll be available in the presentation because these are the existing authorities that we use for the EAR, and they're the same ones that are used for the clearinghouse. So you can feel free to go through them at your own leisure. We have here a special note, the source capacity requirement to report capacity data to the State Water Board in order to determine whether your source capacity has enough capacity to meet your maximum day demand or peak hour demand, depending on the size of your system. And so that's one that you may not have been aware of. That is something that is a requirement. And the other one is metering source flow. So there's a requirement to meter the quantity of flow from each source and to record the total monthly production each month. We get a lot of questions about, why do I have to have a flow meter? There's got to be some way to measure each source's total monthly production. And that's what we have put into the clearinghouse reporting. So known issues that we have. So we have outdated and cumbersome reporting platforms, such as the EAR. They're very fast to work on. They can be released very quickly and make changes very quickly. But in adding a lot of new functionality and doing a lot of the error checks and validations that we want, it has proven a little bit difficult to work with. So we are working on moving out what we can move out from the EAR and trying to support them a little bit better in the clearinghouse. Hopefully you guys see some of the enhancements that we've been doing to that reporting. There's a lot of lack of flexibility. There's one annual report. There's not a bunch of smaller timescale reporting. So lack of flexibility with reporting frequencies and deadlines. Some information needs to be done on a weekly basis in the clearinghouse. Some of that has to be done annually, and everything in between. Difficulty with editing and revising previously submitted data. Once you submit data, that is your data. This is water system data. So if you find an error in the data, we want you to have the ability to come back in, even if it's a year or two after, be able to make a change in a report and resubmit and attest that information is correct. There's challenges accessing and extracting the data submitted. Sometimes they're unwieldy large platforms. Sometimes there's many different pieces in different places. We have to pull them all together to make them make sense. And we plan on doing more ways to make this data more accessible to you as a user, but also to the public so that we can share this data to other divisions that are using this same data. And that goes to the last bullet point, which is we need more coordination amongst the State Water Board divisions and other state agencies so that we can continue to stop building new widgets, stop building new platforms, and start consolidating some of our reporting, especially for water systems, to send that into the same place. So this is just an example of some of the duplicative production reporting. This is not exhaustive. There's definitely a whole lot more we have discovered, but it's just to give you an idea of just 3 different agencies asking for deliveries in different timescales at different aggregations, 4 different types of water systems. And again, we're trying to make a one-stop shop. You come into the clearinghouse, you put in your data, maybe a little bit more onerous initially, but it gets to satisfy a whole lot more reporting over time. And that is what we're hoping to do. And the vision for the clearinghouse is really to be a one-stop shop, not just for water system reporting, which is one aspect of it, but also for all of our data that comes in. So when you go into the clearinghouse, you can see your water quality data. You can see your water system sources. You can see their flow paths and how they connect in. You can see data about your facilities. And finally, you guys get to tell us whether that's accurate or not, and we can change that. Rather than it being in a black box, you only seeing it once every 3 years or in a permit and not knowing whether that information is updated. That's going to help you guys to make sure your data is accurate, but it's also going to help us to do our job as an entity and help other people, other agencies that are asking for this data. So the data, the one-stop shop is what a vision of what we're working on. So what is the data reporting? So this is the current reporting systems that are in the clearinghouse. So we currently have a drought and conservation report. That's the first row, which is all community water systems and non-community schools have to report on a monthly basis, quarterly deadlines for monthly reports. So on a quarterly basis, you're reporting 3 months worth of data. So, we didn't want to package it up quarterly because we asked for it monthly. but we were able to extend the deadline. So it gives folks a little bit more time. So we understand that that's more frequent than your annual report that was only due once a year. But think about it this way, instead of doing it once a year and having to dig up all this data throughout the year that may have been a whole year since you last looked at that data, you get to look at that data more often, more frequent. It gets to be more accurate, reported accurately, and you get to fix that data throughout the year, feel confident, so that your EIR reporting is very simple. And I will show you a little demo of what that that annual inventory reporting report looks like, so you can kind of see how that's going to play out. So there's monthly drought order systems that report monthly on the 7th day of the following month. They're few and far between. They're reducing in quantity over time as we find out more data about those systems. And the weekly drought order systems, which are really the drought, the water outage systems, people that are out of water, relying on hauled water or bottled water to meet demand. There's very few of them, but they're due on a weekly basis. And then we have single or aggregated reporting for urban retail water suppliers that are due monthly at the end of the following month. That is in relation to existing requirements that they submit monthly conservation reporting to RPP every month. We have carried over the same requirements so that those are also due monthly at the end of the following month, with the ability to submit preliminary estimated data, so they don't have to submit final data in case it takes time to get that data. But this is new. All public water systems, all 7,200 water systems that we have, are now required in the clearinghouse to submit an annual report by the end of the first quarter of the following year. So in 2023, we have an annual report starting in January, ending in December. And this annual report is going to be due for all water systems by the end of March. And that is the new reporting. That's what the emails have been about this last month. We sent out a new technical reporting order that is available on our website and has been emailed out as well, asking for comments, because that'll be official starting January 1st. So there's a small time period where you get to provide that any comments that you might have for that draft order. But this is for all public water systems. So this, like I said, all community water systems and non-community schools and urbans have been reporting for a very long time. This whole year they've been reporting, not very long, but this whole year. But now all public water systems will be asked to come into the report and at least do an annual report. So the non-community systems, additionally, will have to create an account, have access to the clearinghouse, and be able to submit an annual report. Hopefully that makes sense, but that is the purpose of restarting these webinars, is not just to record how to get on, but there's a significant amount, half of the water systems that we regulate are going to have to create an account for the very first time. So yes, this is you. This means you, right? If you came here, you're like, I wonder, I'm a public water system, I wonder if this affects me. Yes, this means you. So hopefully that makes sense. So quick note at the bottom, reports are visible, but not editable until the end of the reporting period. Then you can complete the report and submit. So even now, if you go into your water system, you will be, and I'll show you how to do this, you will be able to see your annual inventory report and see what it looks like, see all the data fields that are in it. You're going to be pretty surprised. If you've already been reporting, you're going to be pretty shocked how easy that reporting really is. And I'll show that to you. But that is visible, but not able to be reported until January. So that's when you'll be able to start reporting that system. So just a quick note on that. Pleased to report the reduction of duplicative reporting. The first one is the drink portal, where urbans were sending their monthly conservation information. We have been able to shutter the drink portal and reduce that monthly conservation portal, and that has completely been replaced for urban retail water suppliers in drought and conservation reporting in the clearinghouse. So we've been able to shift that over. That's the first one. So folks were reporting production and delivery information and water shortage information into this portal. And they were also reporting like population and things like that that are also duplicative. Now we've been able to shutter that. Now they're putting that same information into ours, but also meeting other purposes, which is like our annual report. So even though it may look bigger than that other report, it's actually satisfying a whole lot more requirements without having you to log in, again, separate login to two separate portals. We're really pleased to announce that happened over the summer. I believe July, they finally shuttered the drink portal, monthly conservation portal. And the second one is the clearinghouse reporting will satisfy annual reporting requirements for supply and demand of individual public water systems that would typically be reporting in the 2023 EAR. So that section 6 that had the supply and demand in the EAR will no longer be required to be filled out by water systems. it'll have a placeholder tab saying, go to the clearinghouse to fill out this information. It is no longer needed in the electronic annual report. So that's very important that the EAR will no longer have this information. This will only exist in the clearinghouse in the future. So just be advised, if you're used to filling that out in the EAR, you're no longer going to be doing that. It's going to be in the clearinghouse from now on. So I think I've done quite a bit of talking. I'm going to start to shift over, I think, in the next couple of slides. This is just showing people in a monthly fashion what types of things we asked from folks. We asked about water shortage questions, source reporting, and supply and demand on a monthly basis this past year. And we had some drought response questions that were only answered by urban retail water suppliers or those experiencing a water outage or were at risk of experiencing a water outage. So not everybody saw the drought response, especially if you're a smaller system. You may not have seen these questions. You might not just have seen these 3 sections, and that was by design. But now with the annual report is going to focus on supply and demand. We have plans potentially in the future years to add other annual components, such as going through your inventory reporting and seeing how your inventory, how your sources, how's your source condition, what are different factors about your source that we need to know about. So there's going to be more to that, but for now, it only has supply and demand, which you have already been reporting on a monthly basis if you're a community system, but it'll be new for non-community systems that have not been reporting in the clearinghouse.